celebratory donuts and yada, yada, yada.
Don't say any words that we don't like.
Yeah, this is supposed to be fun and joyful.
Well, that's why people tune into Speed City. We bring the fun. So, hey, Chris.
We bring the F-bombs.
We bring the F-bombs. That's true, too.
With a hole in your donut.
Hey, I do want to bring us down from the fun a little bit because I want to talk about just Lewis Hamilton a little more. I want to talk about Toto Wolff apologizing for the inexcusable and idiotic mistake from the team. Greeny, do you have your head wrapped around exactly what all happened there?
No, actually.
I was going to ask Chris, but...
Well, no, but I don't. And I'm glad you brought it up because you're right. I read Toto had apologized profusely about what happened, but I never got to the bottom of what happened.
So they sent the cars out too late, basically.
Okay.
They did not get them into the queue early enough to be out on track far enough in the kind of line of cars to start a lap. So they were so far back with everybody then backing up. And that's, as we heard, Hulkenberg had the same problem and decided that he was going to overtake people illegally in the pit exit to get his lap in. Same scenario at the end of Q1 when Hulkenberg did that. The Mercedes drivers faced and couldn't or didn't overtake anyone illegally. And it meant they were really rushing at the end because everyone's still backed up at the end of the lap too. So it was a mess. We saw George Russell nearly get investigated for impeding Liam Lawson at the final corner. Fernando Alonso was there on the inside too. It wasn't just the one, Mercedes car in terms of Lewis Hamilton. And what Toto was saying was as a team, we really put ourselves in a bad position there. That's on us. It's nothing to do with the drivers. They don't choose when they leave the pit lane. They don't get to make that choice. So yeah, he said that was all on us, and we put them in a spot that cost them, and it nearly cost Russell. He only just made it through, and it did cost Hamilton.
Yeah, I was surprised that Russell wasn't pinged for that Lawson thing because Lawson was coming through at a rate of knots to get his lap in, which he did, but he had to go between two cars to get there.
Yeah. Quite often, what the stewards will look at, and they say nothing is judged on the outcome, but it clearly is because if both cars made it through, which they did, Lawson was maybe slightly impeded, but it didn't cost him anything, as in he advanced to Q2.
Okay.
They go, okay, then Russell did the best he could to get out of the way, and there's no reason to penalise him because there's been no lasting effect of that. Whereas if that had been something that caused Lawson to drop out in Q1, you can probably expect a penalty because you've hampered him so much it's affected his qualifying result.
Well, and he was quick on the radio to say I couldn't, I would have lost my lap if I'd have gone off track. So
Yeah, absolutely. And he had, as I said, he had Fernando Alonso on his inside, so he couldn't go to the inside because he collided with him. They kind of did the best they could. But I think George was also making the point that if he went fully off track on the left and then started his lap, he's given himself an advantage because he's got a longer run to turn one from there. He's got a slingshot where he's not used the circuit. And it's like, it's almost like a drag race style. You've got a run up at the start of the lap that you shouldn't have because you come from off the track. So he knew he'd get in trouble for that too. So he had to actually keep a wheel on the track to make sure he didn't get in too much trouble.
Good point.
All right, guys, let's get our first break in really quick, and we'll be back after these messages with more, getting you ready for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, the final race of the season. Okay, let's check in with YouTube. It's got to be quiet, man. It is early.
Mike Bowles will be there.
Mike Bowles is there. TW's there. Well, that's because it's not early for TW. He's in Thailand.
Yeah. Well, you don't know that.
Well, that's true. That's when was he? Vegas? He was in the States somewhere recently. He was in the States.
Yeah.
But checking in, Mike Bowles says it's a quiet house.
In fact, it's really early in the morning, I'm thinking.
Yeah. Thailand?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
They're a day ahead, I would have thought.
Yeah, but I think he always talks about it being later.
It'll be late in the evening because we are here at 20 past 4 in the Middle East.
So, good point, yeah.
It's going to be, I reckon, 8 p.m., maybe 9 p.m. for him.
Oh, it's perfect.
Well, what happened? Casey, did we get started late on YouTube? Huh.
Yeah, it's 8:16 in Kuala Lumpur. So, it'll be about 9 o'clock, yeah.
Okay, Chris, what time is it in Sepang, Malaysia, where my son is racing this weekend?
What time? 8:16.
About the same, yeah, same
That's
time.
what I was thinking. I need to check in and see how they did. They race one. They had two cars. They got two McLarens racing there. They finished like 12th and 15th. Oh, the guys are just having a chat, Mike and TW. But like I said, it's too early for anybody else to be joining out there. Let's see what we got coming up here in the next segment. Bob, I want to go over the driver battles. What you got, Chris?
I was going to say such part-timers. I do have Valtteri Bottas lined up to chat to us when he gets to the grid.
Oh,
Okay.
awesome.
So I reckon that will be around half past the hour, just maybe a minute or two after. So
We'll make a note of it.
yeah, just so that we don't go to a break at that time, because I can get in live walking off. We've lined it up already after yesterday.
Awesome. Is that an apologetic interview for cutting us off?
Nah.
Yeah, it turned out I got that wrong. As I started asking the question, I then got told, and couldn't hear them from his PR, that they were going to go do Channel 4 first and then us.
Okay, here we go.
Hi, this is Karun Chandok, and you're listening to Speed City.
Welcome back to the fastest hour in radio, Speed City.
At Sunoco, performance is what they do, and is one of the most legendary brands in motorsports history, sitting at the front of the pack with sponsorships across more than 40 different racing entities. They are now here to tell everyone, that race fans everywhere, that they have made their long-awaited return to the world of Formula One. As the official sponsor of Stake F1 Team Sauber, Sunoco, no one knows racing like they do. All right, gentlemen. Bob, I wanted to ask you about the driver battles that we're watching today, because there's something to play for there, too. We got the constructors we've been talking all about, but there's a few driver battles as well, isn't there?
Oh, there's some great ones. Although this is going to take some of the guts out of my starting grid later on. That's okay. I'm a little surprised there hasn't been more coverage of the fact that Lando Norris is just 8 points ahead of Charles Leclerc for second in the Drivers' Championship. Now, granted, that looked a lot better to Leclerc starting the weekend than after qualifying, but still, 8 points is what it is. But
Yeah.
the real fight is going to be further back, starting in 10th with Nico Hülkenberg, Pierre Gasly, Yuki Tsunoda, Lance Stroll, and Esteban Ocon, covered by 13 points.
Yeah. I'll say 14 to 13, yeah.
Well, I hate to rule Ocon out of that fight, but he's not racing today, so he's definitely not moving forward.
Well, exactly. But the fact is there's this knot of drivers there, all starting, in the middle, 4th through 7th rows of the race. I'd love to know how aware each driver is of the fact that he could change his position in the championship for the better. But anyhow, and let's not forget, you got Magnussen on 12, Magnussen on 16, Albon on 12, Ricardo, don't worry about that. Behrman, don't worry about that. Colapinto's got 5, Zhou Guanyu has 4, Liam Lawson has 4, Bottas, of course, has none. He's the only active driver with no points, unless you include Jack Doohan, who makes his debut today. So, yeah, there's a lot of that kind of movement that can take place during the race today, and it's worth it. It's worth fighting for.
Yeah, for sure. And look,
Well, it must be said, actually, I spoke to Pierre Gasly last week, didn't we? And he said that it matters to him trying to get in the top 10. For the season they've been having, trying to find a way of being top 10 is important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's another good battle I just noticed. Obviously, we're watching Gasly versus Hülkenberg, but there's 1 point between them in the actual Drivers' Championship as well.
Wow.
36 to 37. Hülkenberg 1 point ahead.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's for P10, isn't it? That's the point. That's the one that matters. Sorry, I'm getting distracted here by Brad Pitt was on his way to film a scene. So there's a lot of filming going on at the back of the grid here, which is quite interesting because we've got all the teams obviously coming back with their mechanics to pick up their cars as they always do. The pit lane's just open, so the cars run through, they complete a lap, go into the pit lane, go through again 2, maybe 3 times, and then they roll on to the back of the grid. So you've got all of the mechanics coming here, getting ready with the coolers and the fans, some dry ice, ready for their cars at the same time as a movie scene's being shot, that's the coordination they're having to do with this film.
Yeah, and plenty of coordination
That's the
and
reason.
cooperation from Formula One, because I know they're pretty excited about this movie coming out next year, this blockbuster Jerry Bruckheimer, Brad Pitt movie, to do a little Drive to Survive style movie magic on Formula One for some more fan growth, I would say. Hey, we've been talking about all these driver battles and all this and saying, oh, it's maybe not necessarily less likely or the Constructors' Championship. But this is 2024. We've seen it all season long. It has served up surprises all year long, hasn't it?
Oh, yes. But I mean, I think about some of the fallow years, as it were, where we were like, okay, Mercedes won too.
Verstappen.
Yeah, Verstappen completely dominates again. This has been a really interesting year. And sometimes it's for the wrong reasons, like Perez not performing. But
or for the right reasons, like McLaren coming alive from Miami on.
I watched one of those tech pieces from our man Sam.
Yeah.
On F1 TV.
Yep.
And I was amazed. He showed the graph of McLaren's rise. It was a straight line of improvement. Every upgrade that they did worked. And that is, to be honest, in today's Formula One, everybody's doing upgrades, including today, like new wings, new floors, whatever it might be. So that's the name of the game now. There's no testing, so you do the testing on the road, and you've got to get it right, and McLaren did.
Well, Bob, I don't know about you, but I'm just expecting something, whether I don't know what that is. Dare I say a couple of McLarens coming together or something crazy, but I mean, they've got to have some pretty, that's got to be too obvious. You don't even need team orders for that, right?
Oh, absolutely. And that's why we watch, because we don't know the outcome and who's going to have a great day, who's going to have a horrible day. That's just the nature of sport. One thing I noticed as I was looking down that list of drivers, I think this year coming in was the first time in forever that there were no changes on the driver lineup from first to last. Mm-hmm. By my rough count, ignoring the drivers who left the championship this year, like Daniel Ricciardo, there are going to be 9 changes on next year's grid. Nearly half the field will either enter the sport or move from team to team or leave the sport in 2025, which is kind of remarkable.
Given that no change at all this year, that everybody was the same.
Yeah, exactly.
The comparison from this year is pretty stark.
Yeah, that's the contrast for sure. All right, so let's see what else we got here. One thing we've got to talk about today that we didn't really give it as much due is that Lewis Hamilton's final race with Mercedes. I mean, let's don't have a funeral here because he's going to be doing something incredibly exciting going to Ferrari next year.
Yeah.
But this run with Mercedes, 246 races, 84 wins, 153 podiums, and 78 poles. I mean, the most successful driver and team pairing in history.
Yeah, and it's funny how you get glassy-eyed. I actually thought the Schumacher-Ferrari year was more dominant, but it's not the case.
But no, this is it.
This is the man.
The most successful driver team pairing in F1 history.
Yeah, Rosberg talked about it and how he had he was on Sky's coverage, and he said, it's part of my history too. We've been racing each other since we were 13. And that's pretty much when, when he was already looking towards Formula One. He'd already been contracted to McLaren at that point. And they were racing each other, and then they met each other as teammates again.
That's the only asterisk in this history of Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes, with Rosberg stealing a championship in between all of them.
Right. And then just dropping the mic, which I still think is one of the most daring things I've ever seen in Formula One.
It's definitely
Well, you might say Max Verstappen stole one too. So,
and that's
there
true.
You go.
21.
Well, there's those that say that. That's true.
Mike Massey's still having therapy.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah,
He's still in the witness protection program.
Along with Massa.
Yeah, but as we heard from Lewis Hamilton earlier in the show, and the fact that this was just a horrible end to that with him getting stolen, his potential podium or front row start, I should say, stolen by a stray bollard. That was just the timing of that thing sliding out. I'm still watching that video again. Right? It's sliding out right in front of his car and getting stuck underneath.
It's still a strange thing for K-Mag to do.
Yeah.
I mean, he was trying to get out of the way, but
I think it's the only place he could go because he was looking, knowing a car was coming. But in that part of the track, it's actually a lot of corners close together, so you can't see very far. And those two left-handers under the hotel have become one sweeping left-handed, almost like hairpin. So he was sat there, almost stopped, hoping to be out of the way of Hamilton, knowing he was the last car coming through. And then it just got too tight. To be honest, I think he did the exact right thing. Like, he got so far out of the way, cut the corner so that Lewis had a free run at the corner. If he didn't hit the bollards, then it would have been actually very impressive. But as you say, the timing of the bollard and where it went, you just can't write it.
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, it was so random. And, you know, I suppose in a way it's a metaphor for Lewis's entire season after a decade and more of triumph and success and glory. You know, he comes to a big change in his career, and, you know, he's having a down year and he's having bizarre things happen to him. I mean, that's just in the nature of sport. It's just throws up surprises all the time, especially in Formula One.
Yeah.
You know, where the tolerances are so tight.
Well, that's exactly what the smile on his face when the interviewer walked up. He was just like, you know, what am I going to say?
Yeah. Hindsight is always 20/20, but I get the feeling that if Hamilton had the year he had and wasn't going to Ferrari, I think this would be his swan song today.
Right, but you know what? Doesn't it just set us up perfectly
he said
for
it in
next
the
year?
interview. He said there's. I'm sorry, what was the question?
I just said, doesn't it just set us up perfectly for next year? You know, the tension of has Lewis lost it, right? Does he still have the chops to go to Ferrari and succeed? And, you know, this ending up at the, you know.
Well, yeah.
Go ahead, Bob.
But it's a great story, but it's not the story. You know, next year is going to be so different in so many ways, and the year after that even more so when new rules come into effect. So, you know, we're used to Lewis being pretty much the center of attention, but, you know, maybe he's not going to be for a while. It's and as I say, it's just one of the stories we'll be following in the future.
Yeah, with
it's been Lewis. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's got to be one of the biggest stories. Hey, Chris, you were talking about the bottom of the hour here for Bottas. We need to get a break in. Should we do that now, or are you?
Yeah, I've just followed him. No, do not go to break at all. I've just followed his car all the way down the grid, which I'd say is very warm to be behind. You know, F1 cars have a lot of heat come off them. So he's just jumped out of his car now. So once he gets his helmet off, he's going to come and see his trainer and get his kit off, so to speak. And then we'll grab a quick word with him as he leaves the grid. So I will be jumping in just a second to have a word with Valtteri Bottas. So we got for about 10 seconds, didn't we, on yesterday's show? Yes. So I lined him up for hopefully 20 seconds today. But it's his final race for Sauber. And with a bit of luck, it could result in his first points of the season. So he's going to be targeting that, I am sure. And I'm going to put to him in a second once he's got his balaclava off and had a swig of drink. His trainer's just given him a bottle of, I imagine it's not just water. It'll be something to rehydrate him. And then we're going to follow him off the grid. So we'll see with that. And you staying put for now, Valtteri? You staying here, or are we wandering off? Here's good. Well, sorry to bother you 2 days in a row, but you've done well 2 days in a row. Starting from 9th, is the target points? Do you have the car underneath you to get that?
Of course, that's the target. Of course, it's very, very obvious. But if we have the car, it's a bit of a question mark. On a single lap, we've been good here, but the race pace is still, a bit of a mystery. So we'll find out very soon, but we'll give it the best shot for sure.
It must feel good to finish the season at least in a position where you could be fighting for points, starting in the top 10.
Absolutely. I guess better late than never, but it is late in the season. But yesterday was positive, and hopefully today too.
And your helmet says what's next on the top of it. Do you know what's next yet? Do you even think about what's next until after the race?
I'll think about it next week.
So today it's just all about eyes forward, get some points?
Yeah, today is all about maximizing the race.
Okay, well, good luck today. Thank you.
Well, there's somebody we can root for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, you know, it's a great story, and he deserves a good swan song, does Bottas. I think he's been lost in the shuffle, as has Joe. Both those are the two guys I have huge empathy for, because what have they done wrong except try to take a really rotten car and make it better?
Yeah. Well, that's what I was trying to get at. We were talking about Lewis. He was, you know, the top story for so long, and now, you know, he's come down to the reality of what Formula One can really be like if your car is not up to the job or not up to what you want it to be. And look at Valtteri Bottas, classic example, a guy who was a teammate to Hamilton for much of that time, finished second in the championship, has 2 poles and 2 victories at this racetrack in Abu Dhabi. And right now he's sitting on a goose egg as he prepares to wrap things up with Sauber. I think that's a real story too.
Well, look, I was rattling off Hamilton stats. Listen to Bottas's. This is his career. 245 starts, 10 wins, 67 podiums, 20 poles, and 19 fastest laps.
Yeah, that's no mean feat.
Yeah. So, all right, guys, let's get our next break in really quick. We'll be back right after these messages. Oh, what is that?
Live telecast.
Oh, they just moved it. Is that what that says? Okay. The ESPN telecast. Yeah. All right, let's check YouTube. All right. The people are waking up here. We got some more faces here. We got Todd Daubers with us. Good morning for the last week.
What did ESPN do with the broadcast?
I haven't read it yet, but
I think it was just them moving it from one channel to another. That was an announcement a couple days ago, I think.
Oh, okay.
I think it's what it is. Todd says, I've really enjoyed your show this year. Go ahead, Chris.
ESPN are pulling it from ESPN to the main channel.
Right.
Oh, okay. That's cool. Yeah, that's good news.
So it's to make sure that people know that it's on the main channel on ESPN2. But it's probably a bit late now because if you set it to record, you'll miss it.
That's right.
Andy P says, morning all. Nervous, but a good nervous. Hoping McLaren can close the show and bring this Constructors' Championship home. Yes, sir, Andy P. And let's see.
So who was racing in 98 for McLaren?
Oh, man, I had that pulled up.
Huh?
Mika Hakkinen
and
David
Coulthard.
Coulthard.
Wow. Classic. With West sponsorship?
Yep.
There you go.
Silver, but like
silver,
grey
yep. Silver
ones.
grey, yep.
Yeah.
Essentially, the Mercedes works team at that point.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking at the list of people that weren't born yet, and I'll wait till we're back on the air when McLaren won their last championship.
Well, Beerman wasn't.
Well, there's a few, and we'll get there. I still got that tab open, thankfully. Hey, Chris, where did Jack Crawford end up for the year?
Retired very early on in the race, so I think he ended up 6th.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because there was only a few. No, because Antonelli didn't race, so he should be.
No,
still showing 5th. Well, anyway, go ahead.
Oh, 5th then. Yeah.
Yeah, he should be 5th. But actually, his first sprint.
Hi, this is Max Verstappen, and you're listening to Speed City.
Welcome back to the fastest hour in radio, Speed City.
All right, welcome back. We're 24 minutes before the start of the last race of the season, the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. And we are getting you ready. And Chris Medland's out in Abu Dhabi. He's got his microphone ready. We got Jonathan Green and Bob Varsha with me. It's Jon Massengale. And Greeny, I had in my list in this segment to talk about the battle for the 6th place in the Construction Championship.
Right.
We touched on it a little bit. Alpine leading Haas by 5 points, who lead RB by just 9 points. So, more than likely with this, the way things sit, it's you got to say Alpine's the favorite here, but you never know, right?
Well, and when he qualified 4th, I thought this is quids in because he just needed to finish 4th, and Hulkenberg would have got enough points to catch up, regardless kind of what Gasly did. But now it's different. Now with the penalty, it really is a straight shootout between the pair of them.
Yep, it's coming down to Gasly and Hulk for the fight there, and I think that
6 points
with RB being 9 behind them, and they just haven't shown the pace of those other two lately.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was watching the second qualifying where they both missed out, but it was by inches, so they could be competitive if it's a funny race. But we don't seem we're not expecting the kind of stops. Go ahead.
Ayo Komatsu here, so I've got the team principal of Haas. We're just talking about this fight for 6th. Ayo, it obviously looked better when Nico was starting 4th, but do you still feel you're really in the fight today?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, can't stop pace. So, yeah, we try our best.
Do you change anything? Do you target what Alpine are doing a bit more? Does it impact the way you go about racing?
Not really. I think we have to do our best race. Almost we got nothing to lose. So just go for our best race. Kevin starting from here as well. We try to get as high as possible. then whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, starting 14th, Kevin. Do you roll the dice a bit with him to see if he can get into the top 10?
Again, the thing is like, but we got pace. He's got pace, car's got pace. So we shouldn't do anything too far away from our optimum, because then normally 8 times out of 10 it comes off worse. So if he can do a good race, I think we can get to the points.
And what will be crucial to score points today? Is track position the key? Is it going to come down to strategy, or can you do it on track with overtaking?
I think depending on tires difference as well, and also who's in front, top speed makes difference. So track position, but also if you got one car in front or 2 cars in front, and then what the tire is different. So many factors as usual. So we just to try to judge that right.
Well, good luck today. I'd say we're rooting for you. North America's rooting for you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Man, Chris, he has such a different tone to his voice from the beginning of the season when they were predicting gloom and doom, doesn't he?
Yeah,
big time. I mean, it's been such a turnaround in the sense that they weren't that quick at the start of the season anyway, but they were solid, and that was more than they were even expecting. So end up where they are. I mean, the form of Haas, the last 10 races, I think they've only failed to score once. It's been remarkable.
And really, what a great story Io himself is.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, we all kind of went, is this the right guy for the job? We've all met him. He's a lovely man. But we thought there were big shoes to fill. But he filled them well.
Yeah. And when we met him last year in the garage, he was so quiet and just very reserved, I guess. Very,
Well, typically Japanese.
Yeah.
But I really think that's to his advantage. He's got the team behind him. There's no question.
Yeah, if I were to try to describe Ayo Komatsu in one word, it would be scrappy.
Yeah.
He doesn't elevate himself. Again, he's very Japanese in his way. He just, he's one of the.
I know we're talking about Haas, but I've got the Alpine team principal here with me, Olio.
Let's talk about Haas.
We have been. We just spoke to Ayo Komatsu. We want to know your thoughts on this. Like, how are you feeling ahead of this fight for 6th place?
I'm all right. Did you have a word of him? Apparently, I'm disloyal, dishonest, aren't I?
Are you?
Yeah, no, I'm joking. All good. We'll see how the race goes. It's definitely going to be tight. You can see that.
Well, you've gained a pace because of Nico's penalty. How do you feel the car pace is looking? Is this really important that you're starting ahead of him, or did you think you had the pace anyway to take the fight to Haas?
Well, I guess it always depends how the first lap unfolds, doesn't it? But I think the qualifying was really tight between us. I think it was a 10-pin hit at the end of the day. I think in the race, you just want to see how you perform in the different conditions and the tyres as we get going. Yeah.
And you've also got Jack Doohan making his debut. He's starting from further back. What are you expecting to see from Jack today?
Look, he just needs to get a race under his belt. He did a good job in quali, particularly first run. Second run, he was a bit unlucky, all that melee last sector with Lewis and a few others. But no, I just want to see him get a race under his belt, and he's been doing a really good job this weekend.
Does that hurt the team, though, having a rookie in for this final race when it all hinges on this for the championship?
No, I can't say more, but it definitely doesn't, yeah.
All right, well, thank you very much. Good luck today.
That says a lot. He said so much without saying anything.
What more is there to say?
Flavio's pulling the strings is what's there's to say.
Boy.
Chris, we're watching on television the medley that it is the grid walk that you're in the middle of down there. It's really awesome. I can see the weather and the crowd, and we're watching to see if we spot you through the crowd as usual, but it definitely looks jam-packed over there.
Yeah, just neat.
Well, I think it was last year. Was it Chris Hemsworth I was interviewing that got us on TV? But, I don't think I can get Brad Pitt. They are filming the entire time they're on the grid, it turns out. I did actually ask one of the coordinators if there might be a chance to doorstep. They're like, no. Like, if you see us walking, we're shooting a scene. So I do have to stay away from there. But I'm going to see who else we can get. Tell you what, come on, last one of the season. Give me a target, a realistic target, one person to interview.
Oh, wow. Ooh. Oh, goodness. Jeez.
Lewis.
I was just going to say, Lewis, it has to be.
Realistic target. He doesn't do any interviews, let alone for us on his last race for Mercedes.
Mohammed bin Sulayem.
Oh. If I can get close to him, because here he has an entourage and a half. But I tell you what, I'll try.
Okay.
Whoever wins 6th place.
That's later. I'm talking about on the grid now. We've done those two.
Oh, right. Okay.
Let's see. See if you can get more than 5 words out of Stroll.
I might try that, actually. That's a good point. For now, I'm going to see if there might be one more I can get, which is Toto Wolff, actually.
There you
but
go.
I'm going to let him do a quick photo. And he's having a word with sponsors here before I get in his way. Yeah, Toto's here. And Toto, big day for the team. I know there's a lot going on, actually. He's doing another photo that I'm not going to get in the way of. He's got some important sponsors, I think, from Petronas looking at them. And you can hear how long we have. Toto, big day for the team today. Lewis's final race. Is that kind of overshadowing things a little bit at the moment?
Yeah, it's going to get emotional. We're still very much in the moment. We compartmentalize, trying to get him back to the front as much as we can, although it's going to be difficult. Then we see after the race.
Yeah, I mean, you got a quick car though, right? He can come through the field?
Yeah, he will.
But what will it mean regardless what happens out on track today? Like, can you sum it up briefly what it's been like with Lewis Hamilton?
We've had so many good races, so many wins, pole positions, championship victories, and we are proud that we have walked this way together.
Well, good luck today.
Oh, that's nice.
Did you hear him? Because I didn't over that time.
Yeah, we did. He was just, and he was just struggling with what's going on in the background too. But he was just talking about all the wins with Lewis Hamilton, and I think I can't blame him for being a little misty about that a little bit. But, well, hey, Chris, you know what? Let's go ahead and get our last break in right now while that's going on, and then we'll get the Bob Varsha grid right after the break as well. You listen to Speed City F1 back after these messages. Okay, YouTubers, who's excited?
I got a good one. My bowl says I can hear. He says I can hear 98. I can hear Mika saying, "Maximize. We've got to maximize the car.
Maximize.
The car, we got to maximize the car."
You know what? I think I'm. I really am agnostic across all the drivers and teams. I had someone ask me at a Christmas party the other night, "Who's your favorite driver?" And I was like, I don't.
It doesn't work that way.
I don't have one. I really don't.
Yeah.
I don't. I mean,
that's good.
Yeah, but I'm really rooting for McLaren to win this because I think it's good for the sport too. I mean, at this point, it's Ferrari or McLaren.
When I used to do Chris's job, I used to sort of say to myself, well, there's those that I like because they talk to me.
Well, there's that.
And they give you time of day, and therefore they're pleasant. And there are others who you admire, and you think, just privately, I hope this guy goes good. You know?
And, like I was thinking, I dare not say Max Verstappen. People always ask me, is he rude? Is he an ass? And I'm like, no, we had a across-the-table 10-minute interview with him a year or two ago, and he was just pleasant as ever.
Yeah.
But I like your use of the word agnostic there when it comes to drivers. That means you don't believe any of them is God, right?
Exactly. Kevin Kelly said he saw your wife, Chris.
Yeah, that's a bit of a worry.
Yeah, but
she always gets in the way. She'll be manning the grid walk for Martin Brundle. She'll be telling him where to go, who to speak to. So this is going to be a proper fight between her and I if we ever want the same target.
Just a regular weekend off at home then.
Yeah, exactly that. So
Kevin Kelly, good point. Last race for Perez. It's funny, we haven't had the proper reverence for his career because of what they've put him through, in my opinion, the way they've treated him this year.
If you can get K-Mag, that'd be good.
I'm George Russell, and you're listening to Speed City.
Welcome back to the fastest hour in radio, Speed City.
At Sunoco, performance is what they do, and is one of the most legendary brands in motorsports history, sitting at the front of the pack with sponsorships across more than 40 different racing entities. They are here now to tell race fans everywhere that they have made their long-awaited return to the world of Formula One. As the official sponsor of the Stake F1 Team Sauber, Sunoco, no one knows racing like they do. All right, what do you see, Greeny?
I thought so. I thought I'd see something I've never seen. I just saw something I have never seen before. And Bob can get in this because he's an expert on the discs, on spinning the discs. I just saw a DJ with Jackie Stewart bopping around next to it. That's a scary thought.
Bob,
bopping?
He was bopping. Yes.
What's Bob's expertise here?
He loves DJs.
I don't love DJs.
I wish you guys could have seen that. The YouTubers, the expression on Bob's face when he said that. Oh,
I
boy.
tease him about it in the booth. It's really quite fun.
All right, well, we're going to go to Bob Varsha because he's going to run down the grid for us with 12 minutes to go before the race, and let her rip, Bob.
Well, that's the perfect time for me to interrupt them, isn't it? I always
Yeah, absolutely.
He was just starting it. I've got Christian Horner here. Christian, Max not going from the top 3 today, but what can you do from 4th on the grid?
Well, look, you can overtake at this track, so McLaren are going to be very focused on their championship. Everybody's got different objectives, and so we have none other than going to try and win the race. So whether we got the pace to do that, I'm not sure tonight, but we're going to give it a go.
Strange feeling to have nothing riding on this?
Look, in some ways, it's quite nice. I mean, we'd love to be in the fight still, but it's like a cup final.
Yeah, Pacheco the same. Is he going to do something special today, or is the writing on the wall for him?
I just really hope for him he has a great race.
Is it his final Red Bull race?
And well, look, I mean, it's his final Red Bull race this year, and I just hope for him he can have a really, really competitive race.
All right, well, thank you very much. Good for your time.
Nice, Chris. He had his line all prepared, and he said it, and then you ask him again, essentially.
Yeah, good work. Good journalistic work.
I wonder if Christian Horner gets tired of saying that over and over.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, Chris, if you can say this quietly, but Nico Rosberg said that there was something in the region of 60 million up at stake for this decision by Perez.
60, wow. Huh.
Is that
so? You could argue that in multiple ways, because it could be his actual contracts for the payoff that it would require, but it could also then be the knock-on impacts of sponsorship that they currently have that they might not keep. I've heard of actually some sponsors that might be coming on board with Red Bull that would clash with some existing ones that are under the Carlos Slim ownership, Telmex specifically. So there could be there could be ways that they would plug those holes anyway. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But I think you could add it up that way. The flip side is, these are teams that are so attractive to sponsors right now. They've got so much interest in them. I mean, Red Bull with their title partner of Oracle. I mean, that was a huge deal when they signed that. That's not a team that will struggle to fill any gaps they need to. But there are always commercial decisions, and that happens across the board. Let's not kid ourselves that Lewis Hamilton signing for Ferrari. It's partly because he's the most successful driver in F1 history, and partly because think of how lucrative that's going to be for both parties working together.
Yeah, they're talking like multiple hundreds of millions. The value of stock of Ferrari, full stop.
Yeah. All right, we got 10 minutes to the start of the race. Bob, run us through the grid. Or try.
All right, here we go. On the pole, Lando Norris for McLaren, 9th career pole for the Englishman, whose dream of a driver championship evaporated with an error last week in Qatar, but he's bounced back with his 8th P1 start of the season, with a time 1 second under Max Verstappen's pole of a year ago. Starting next to him, Oscar Piastri in the 2nd McLaren. My spell check insists on changing his name.
Sorry,
to
Bob, I cut you off again. I've got the team principal of RB, Lauren Mecchi, is with me. And Lauren, no one's talking about you in this fight for P6. Are you still in it?
P6 is going to be difficult, honestly. As much as the cars progress and we are hitting top 10 on the top 10, we have to accept that Alpine and Haas are slightly quicker at that stage. So the fight is probably going to be them too. If something happens, we are probably here available to take at least the P7, hopefully.
Is that the message to the two drivers? They're starting alongside each other. Is it just make sure you get yourselves in those points?
What we want today, we want a solid race. We are all frustrated that the fight for P6 went away from us. That's what it is. We are still just at the door of the top 10. We want a solid race. We have executed many solid races this year. Let's go and do that. Just do that today. Get some points at the classifications we look tonight.
Well, you're starting right behind Sergio Perez, who we believe it may well be his last start for Red Bull. Which one of your two drivers is best equipped to take that seat in the future?
No, I think they have both done an incredible job this season. And I think to say that any of these guys would not be ready would probably be a lie. So, they are both certainly ready for some faster cars. We'll try to provide them with the faster cars, but I'm sure they will be ready to take somebody else's faster cars.
Well, based on this grid, you're right on pace with Checo. So good luck in the race today.
Cheers.
Wow, for him to say, I could say he's not ready, but that would be a lie. No, it's pretty forthright.
Yep, it's good.
Okay, may I carry on? Okay, You ruined my best joke, so I'll just say, hands down, McLaren are the favorites to win their first title since 98 today. Row 2, Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari. The Spaniard continues to make us all wonder why he was chosen to be dumped to make space at the Scuderia for Lewis Hamilton. But Sainz has handled the situation with grace and a clever dig, saying there's no shame in being replaced by a 7-time world champion. P4, Max Verstappen for Red Bull. Speaking of champions, the newly crowned 2024 titleist qualified 5th and moved up a spot when Nico Hülkenberg was penalized for a pit lane violation. Max and partner Julia Piquet, daughter of Nelson Sr., also announced this week they are expecting. Will that change Max's much-debated driving style? Not likely. Row 3, P5, Pierre Gasly in the Alpine. The run of good performances continues for the gas man. P5 makes the Frenchman the highest qualified member of a group of 5 drivers covered by just 14 points in the standings, all starting 5th through 11th, with the exception of Gasly's former teammate Esteban Ocon, who isn't starting at all. P6, George Russell in the Mercedes, 2 places behind his good buddy Max Verstappen, with whom he crossed swords last week in Qatar. This week, their team bosses got into it in the media, and so now we can't wait to see what happens if Georgie Porgy manages to attempt an overtake of the world champ. Excuse me. Row 4, P7, Nico Hülkenberg of the Haas. Provisional pole as the last runs unfolded in Q3, which was fun to watch. Eventually, a sensational 4th for the American team, fighting for 6th in the constructors' standings. But Nico was docked 3 places for passing 2 cars in the trademark tunnel from the pits to the track in violation of the orders of the race director. Chris, you need time?
You're all good.
Okay, you are too. P8, Fernando Alonso, the Aston Martin, who came into qualifying say he expected something good to happen yesterday, and I guess by the recent performance of the car, it did, putting the double world champ in position to finish the season on a high note. Row 5, Valtteri Bottas in the Sauber. Say what? The former 2-time pole sitter and race winner here in his Mercedes days, the Flying Finn is rumored to be headed back to the TriStar outfit after waking up the echoes one last time in the Sauber camp. P10, Sergio Perez in the Red Bull, another driver apparently moving on after the season, but don't say that to Sergio. He said this week he fully expects to fulfill the final year of his Red Bull contract next year. Boys and girls, that's called drawing a line in the sand. Row 6, P11, Yuki Tsunoda in the RB. So if, in fact, Perez is dragged from his Red Bull ride in the offseason, here's where the fight to replace him takes place. 5th-year veteran Tsunoda has pretty much done all that was asked of him, turning away teammates, including Nick DeVries and Daniel Ricciardo. So what does he have to do to win that seat now? P12, as luck would have it, Liam Lawson in the second RB. That's who he has to outrun now. Outqualified by Tsunoda week after week, but Lawson has shown racecraft, aggression, and courage in his brief appearances. But if he gets the RBR seat over Yuki, as Ricky Ricardo once said, someone got some explaining to do. Row 7, P13, Lance Stroll in the second Aston Martin. In a quiet conversation at Las Vegas, a rep from Team Green told us a few weeks ago that Stroll has struggled against teammate Alonso because they have yet to give him a car he can shine in. The Canadian has shown bursts of performance here and there, and maybe today will be one of those days. P14, Kevin Magnussen in the Haas. Everybody's favorite Viking has cut a deal to race World Endurance beginning next season. But such is his contribution to the improving Haas team that his contract is rumored to include a clause saying the Great Dane can work with the American squad in F1, and that's good news. Row 8, P15, Zhou Guanyu for Sauber. No question the Saubers have come alive. Then the Chinese driver scored his team's first points of the season last weekend in Qatar, and now he and Bottas hope to bid the team farewell with more modest success from 9th and 15th on the grid. It sure beats 19th and 20th. P16, Lewis Hamilton in the Mercedes. As you can well imagine, for a legend with more than 100 victories and as many poles, including 5 of the latter here in Abu Dhabi, it wasn't supposed to end this way at Mercedes. But a wayward quali lap in which he scooped up a marker cone knocked loose by Kevin Magnussen earned Sir Lewis an apology from team principal Toto Wolff. Row 9, P17, Jack Doohan in the Alpine. The son of 5-time MotoGP world champion Mick Doohan makes his Grand Prix debut, subbing for Esteban Ocon, who will be in his new Haas ride for the tire test this week. The newest Aussie in F1 hopes to duplicate the success of Oliver Bierman and Liam Lawson in their respective maiden voyages. P18, Alex Albon of the Williams. Talk about doing a lot with a little.
Yeah.
A series-leading 16 heavy crashes left the team literally with no spare parts for this final race of the season. The mechanics fixed damaged bits with glue and racer's tape that changed gearboxes on both cars, sending the cars to the back. Row 10, P19, Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari, came into the weekend with a shot at Norris for second in the driver's standings, just 8 points behind and running well. But a team decision to replace his energy store, a.k.a. the battery, brought a 10-spot grid penalty, and a lap time good enough for fifth on the grid was lost to a track limits violation. P20, Franco Colapinto in a Williams. The fresh breeze from Argentina has found the going more difficult in the season's closing races, dimming his chances of a better ride for 2025. The change of the gear bag, as our old friend Alain de Cadenet used to call it, is going to take a Fangio-like drive to score today. And there you have it.
Bob, you were almost lined up with the television broadcast. Nice job. Thank you, sir.
Good work.
And yes, and the battery, what do they call it? The energy store. The energy store on my iPhone is what only Formula One would have to change the name of such a simple thing. It's the battery. All right, guys, we're under 2 minutes. Let's get our predictions in. Mr. Green, would you like to start?
Yes, and this is going to surprise you, but I'm going to go Norris, Piastri, Verstappen, which is how they line up.
Okay, I'm going to go Verstappen, Norris, Sainz, just to be different. What about you, Bob?
I'm going to go Piastri, Sainz, Verstappen.
Wow. Okay. Chris Medland?
I'm going to try and speak something into existence that I do not believe is going to happen, but wouldn't it be lovely? I'm going to go Norris, Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton on the podium for his final race from all the way back there. But I don't think too many people would begrudge him that.
Yeah, nobody put Leclerc up there. It would have been Hamilton, Leclerc, and Stroll would have been the ultimate finish there.
Chris, I jokingly said at the top of the program, do you reckon Lewis nodded at Charles just a moment ago and said, "Come on, then, we got to be roomies next year. Let's take this crowd on from the back."
I'd love to see it. I mean, Charles said that he's got the motivation to do something very special.
Yeah,
today.
I read that. Yeah.
They were his quotes last night. I really hope we see that. I want us to have a great race to cap off a great year. It's been mega.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody said Albon doing Colapinto.
Nobody.
Why is that?
Man, look at the sun going low. All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Stick right here for the race and then come back after the race for our final post-race show of the season.